Welcome to GRD132, Typography 1, and I'm just recording a quick video just to review our discussion 4. I was responding to some of the discussion posts, and I was seeing the same thing, and I was writing the same thing, and I was wondering if you were seeing what I was seeing, but either way, I just wanted to go over this. And I should have, I guess, put an image that you can zoom into more. Sometimes I'll do that in discussions and resources, put an image that you can kind of blow up and zoom in. But I'll zoom into this too, because there were a couple responses that I was kind of surprised at, and I'll just go over this again. And I think what I asked for is 3 categories of fonts, and I shouldn't have asked for this one because this one's really hard to see. Now, obviously, this is a script. It's connected. It's kind of brushy looking. This one is really hard to see, the brewing company, and a lot of people said slab serif, and I don't even know how you knew it was a slab serif. If I zoom in, and I don't know if people did this, it could even be a serif. I was thinking that this would be a serif, but it's really hard to tell with the white copy on this yellow background. Plus, it's really small, so when you zoom in, you don't get a lot of clarity. It could be. There's some thin and thick letters, which means it could be a serif, although it could be a slab serif since they're using a slab serif for everything else. And based on the big kind of beaks on these things here and on the E's, it could be. So I don't know. So I wouldn't even, whatever you said, serif or slab serif for that, I wouldn't fault you. But the Old Brown, the Dog, and American Brown Ale, that's all slab serif. This is all very traditional slab serif. Now, it's being used in a decorative manner as everything would be on packaging, but it's traditional slab serif because it's got these big squared off serifs. You can see on the L, not only does it come over, but it goes up real high. The R's all have these serifs on them. The tops of the W's, the terminals of the W's all have these serifs. The N's, even the outsides of these strokes on the N's. So it's traditional slab serif. It's not serif. I mean, they are serifs, but they're slab serif. So this is pretty traditional. Now, this is a little bit more condensed. This is a little bit more expanded. It's almost like they took the same font and just stretched it out, which, we could do as well for this one here, but this is pretty much the same font. And American Brown Ale is the same font too. Zoom into this, you could see that this R is exactly the same R as that. And the W is exactly the same W as that. And the C, I don't know if there's a C somewhere, but the L, I think there's an L here. That's the same exact L that's over here. So these are all slab serif. And I know they're a little hard to see, and it's probably my fault for not giving you a bigger image to work with, but these are all traditional slab serif. There's no real debate about that. They're pretty much traditional slab serif. Again, there's a little more condensed version here. This is kind of expanded. This might be the same condensed as this one down here. It's just bigger. And again, this is script, and this could be slab, it could be serif. It's really hard to tell. It's not a good example. But based on at least these two, the script and the slab serif is what they're using pretty much. Now, also, I saw a number of people gave me the font Gabriella. And I'm not even familiar with Gabriella. I'm familiar with Gabriola, which is kind of a scripty font. And I found like 7 fonts that matched pretty close to this Smuttynose font. So I'm not sure what people were looking at, but what I wanted you to do is click here and basically go on script. And I think I even had a video where it did this, and then just type Smuttynose here and make sure it's big enough because there's a little slider, and then just go through these. Now, as I go through these, I'm just going to go through these quick, and I'll fast forward, obviously, as I'm recording. But if you go through, that's kind of similar, but that's not really it. I mean, just go through these pages. That's sort of similar, except it has that weird texture to it. The first one I saw was Omnipop. I thought that was pretty close. This is on page 2. So if I go here and look at this, look at the M, look at the O going into the S, Omnipop looks pretty close. I mean, I didn't expect us to find it exactly, but that's pretty close. So let me go to page 3. Now page 4. I thought this looked pretty close. Actually, both of these look pretty close. Vodka and Fine Day. Again, looking at the O, looking at the S. Now again, this S is a little bit different, but looking at the body copy, I guess this body copy to me looks more like this one. And I'm looking at the O and the S. And again, I'm not expecting them to be perfect because notice how the T's don't cross. But either of these are pretty close, I think. And again, I'm just looking for close. I'm not looking for you to match it exactly. I didn't think we could match it exactly. So those are 2 already, and I'm still not seeing Gabriella. I don't know where anybody's getting Gabriella or how you're finding that. This is kind of close, but a little too thick. And I think I just went up to page 6 and 7 as I went through these. I thought this was kind of similar. Again, not matching exactly, but if you had to find something similar, Montana was pretty similar. And I think the last one I found one called Handelson. This is on page 7 of these script fonts that I'm looking through. That's kind of similar. I thought Handelson was kind of similar, even though it has some roughness to it. It has some kind of raggedness in the edges, which doesn't really match up. But it does have the cross T's and the O and S, so actually it's fairly similar to that. Even the S looks pretty close, so that's pretty close to it, other than the rough texture, that it has this rough texture on it, but that looks very close. And again, when companies are making logos, they don't always just use the straight font. Sometimes they're going to modify it, so people can't just type their name in a font. They'll modify the Y and modify the S, and maybe they smoothed it out. And I thought Roadhouse was kind of similar, but that's like 6 that I found that were fairly similar, and there's maybe 2 or 3 of them that are really close. And I'm not sure where anybody is finding Gabriella. Matter of fact, if I just search up here for Gabriella, I'm not seeing anything that matches with Gabriella, anything scripty at all when I search Gabriella. Now, there's something called Gabriola that I'm familiar with, but that's even on my computer. I even have Gabriola on my computer, and it's not coming up here, but I have something called Gabriola, which maybe you're thinking of. If you've ever seen Gabriola, I have it on my computer. If you search Gabriola, here's a Gabriola font. It's kind of scripty, but it's more of a serif type font. So I'm not sure where people were finding Gabriella, but I just wanted to go over that because, I didn't want it to be complicated. I just wanted to look at this and find some things on my fonts to match it. And I think this is pretty standard slab serif. All 3 of these are pretty much the same font, probably, except this is stretched out a little bit and this is smaller and browner. This one is the only one I wouldn't expect you to know, because you really have to zoom in to see it. And even then, I can't really tell one way or the other. But I just wanted to go over that just because I was seeing some odd kind of responses in your discussion post. So I just wanted to go over that, and I'll try to be more clearer about some of this in the future. But just check that out, and if there's anything you disagree with or anything, just let me know.